let's talk about how to put together a fairly sophisticated advertising program on LinkedIn. So there are two macro problems that people have generally when they approach LinkedIn advertising. Now, there are tons of little tactical things that can be fixed where they're overspending money by allowing for automated bids, they're not using lead capture forms, and I talk about a lot of that in my LinkedIn advertising course. But there are two big macro issues. So one of them is that people are spending a lot of time advertising things like gated white papers. So it could be a white paper, it could be an ebook, it could be a webinar. Basically what I'm saying here is that there's a lot of money being spent on promoting these content offers where you cannot access the information. The prospect can't get access to the information unless they fill out some sort of form with their email address, their job title. Even more annoyingly, they're forced to provide a work address email. So that's one big problem. That's the whole mindset, the whole approach to LinkedIn advertising is let's capture leads, which is really, you're just capturing contact information that you could get for free by extracting it from LinkedIn Sales Navigator, for example, or by going to a list broker or something like that. So that's a big problem. The other macro problem that I see is there's a lot of demo pushing and nothing else. So what I mean here is promoting your hard offer and not doing any other sort of educational marketing or anything. So your hard offer could be a demo, it could be a free consultation, it could be an audit, a free trial, whatever it is that you phrase it as. Okay, so the approach that I like to take with marketing on LinkedIn is I generally want to start at the bottom of the funnel, not the top of the funnel. Now, the reason for doing this is that when you have limited resources, or when you're trying to prove a concept with something new like LinkedIn advertising, which is for a lot of companies, it's fairly new. They haven't really seen if it works. It's best to do the minimum viable campaign. And the minimum viable campaign is going to be at the bottom of the funnel because that's where your revenue is generated. That's where your sales meetings are generated. The top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, these are really just designed to support ultimately the bottom of the funnel. Now, I don't think that's the most efficient. I don't think it's the most efficient to only focus on the bottom of the funnel. It's just that it's the only truly necessary thing to do. And if you're at a very small company, it's pretty much all you're going to do. Because you don't have extensive time, you don't have extensive budget to invest in things like top of mind brand awareness. So where this is coming from is the Salesforce model. It's called the 3-2-1 model, which is basically flipping the marketing funnel on its head. So conventional marketing funnel, you start at the top with most people, which is going to be people that are cold leads. And then you focus on the people that are warm leads, that are maybe more familiar with you. And then you focus on the hot leads. We're flipping that on its head and we're saying, we're going to start with the hot leads. These are the low-hanging fruit. And then when we've saturated that or we've saturated our budget, if there's anything left, we're going to go after the warm leads and then we'll go after the cold leads. So this is the Salesforce model that we're using. Now, the other thing I want to point out is that based on data that's been synthesized by the B2B Institute, which is a LinkedIn think tank, we know that the optimal budget allocation is about 50% of your budget being spent on capturing demand rather than generating demand. So what that basically means is that you should take half your budget and allocate it to the bottom of the funnel. Now, what most companies do when they approach LinkedIn advertising is they basically take all of their budget and put it towards either the gated to capture email. Half your budget, allocating it towards non-direct response education and brand awareness, where you're focusing on content consumption rather than direct response marketing. And then the other half of the budget is going to be allocated towards things like generating meetings, doing more salesy type of marketing. So here what we're looking at is the funnel, if you will, as depicted by the LinkedIn Campaign Manager. So at the top of the funnel, we have awareness, and the objective is brand awareness. That's the only option you have here. The middle of the funnel, they have consideration, which is getting people to your website, getting engagement on posts and things like that, getting video views. And then at the bottom of the funnel, we have conversions, which is lead generation, website conversions, job applicants. Now, the area where I generally start and the one that I most advocate, at least initially to prove concept, is the lead generation objective. Now, there are different ad types you can take for this. One of the most simplistic that I think you may want to start with is a message ad, because message ad is for the most part text, and it's been proven to generate pipeline new customers very, very cost effectively. So for example, in one case study, there was a 5x return on investment. And this is actual customer acquisition and revenue. We're not just talking about some vague concept of marketing qualified leads or something, by doing nothing but a conversation ad, which is basically a variant of a message ad. Now, these other objectives are important. So getting people to your website, getting people to watch your videos. I'm a huge fan of video advertising. I think it's one of the most effective, particularly at the top, but also in the middle of the funnel. Now, this funnel is fine. I mean, you can work with this. I just don't think it's sophisticated enough, and it's not customer centric enough from a content advertising planning perspective. So that's why I use a slightly more sophisticated model. And I'm going to show you what that is in a moment. And I'm going to give you examples of what types of content or what types of ads you're going to run at each of those stages. So this is the funnel that I use. And I just want to remind you that when we're launching the campaign, we're actually going to start at the bottom of the funnel. But just to describe it, I'm going to start at the top right now. So basically, you can think of this as a funnel. You can think of it as a sequence. You can think of it as 6 types of prospects. However, whatever mind map helps you understand it, I'm just going to call it a funnel for explanation purposes. So at the top of the funnel, we have people that are not familiar with our brand. I'm not talking about our product, I'm talking about the brand. Do they know your logo? Do they know your colors? Do they have some vague idea that you're a tech company or you're a manufacturing company, or do they have some notion of what category you participate in? And that's just focusing on people that are not aware of your brand. Now we have problem unaware people, people that don't even know that the problem that you solve is worth solving. We have people that are not familiar with your category. They don't know that your category, whatever that is, technology, chat software, manufacturing equipment, is the solution to their problem. Then we have people that are product unaware. They're not familiar with your product, the specific use cases of your product, the fact that your product is the leader in that category or is a leader in a specific part of that category, that product category. Next, we have people that are free offer unaware. These are people that aren't familiar with your free offer. Maybe it's a free consultation, a free trial. They don't know that your product's actually free. It's just you need to pay for some additional add-ons or something like that. And then at the bottom of the funnel, we have people that are paid offer unaware. So they're not overly educated on your contract terms, on your payment plans, the fact that you have an annual subscription instead of an annual one, those kind of nuances. So generally, and specifically when dealing with early stage startups, we want to start at the bottom of the funnel. So the bottom of the funnel here is basically getting people to buy. Now, the thing here is that usually this is where your account executive or the sales team is focused. So there's not really a lot you can do from a LinkedIn advertising marketing perspective to help here. Yes, you could have a retargeting campaign that's kind of reaffirming that you're the best at this stage, but for the most part, advertising is not going to play a role. Where it's going to play the strongest role at the bottom of the funnel is right here. So it's promoting your free offer. Your free offer is going to be your demo, your free trial, your free audit. Often I would recommend going with some sort of special offer that's customized to a specific industry or a specific audience. So instead of just a demo, it's an industry-specific analysis, and you'll walk away with X, Y, and Z. That's the kind of offer that is going to be particularly compelling. So what's effective from a LinkedIn marketing perspective at this stage? Well, one of the things that most people do not do is some sort of paid incentive. So what this is offering your prospects $100 or more in terms of money or in terms of a gift card that basically says, I respect your time. I understand that you're an executive or you're a manager, or you're an entrepreneur, whoever you're trying to address, and your time is worth money, and I'm going to show you respect by offering you this. So the problem with a lot of bottom of funnel marketing and SDR outreach is that it's very me, me, me. I want a meeting. I want 15 minutes of your time, but it's like, what are you giving them? Do you even care that their time has value? So there's a psychological benefit to offering them money that kind of convinces them that you're serious. You actually believe your product is so valuable that you're willing to pay them to listen to what you have to hear, and it's extremely effective. We have case studies proving that this is an effective method. A lot of people are resistant to it. They're like, why would you pay for a meeting? It's stupid. But we know that it does accelerate in terms of pipeline velocity. Okay, so what types of ad types do we take with this? Well, I mean, you can take all the ad types, the videos, the images and stuff, but what I would recommend is starting perhaps with a message ad because it's very simplistic and it allows you to focus on the message of the offer and the incentive rather than getting caught up in the distractions with the imagery. Now, you can add an image to a message ad that goes to people's inboxes, that's fine, but it's not necessary and it shouldn't be where the focus of your copywriting is. And conversation ads are basically like message ads. They're just a little more sophisticated where you're providing multiple calls to action instead of just a single one that could be, get your free consultation. So you can give people the option of checking out your website, etc. Now, another thing that I recommend that's not advertising per se is using LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I love LinkedIn Sales Navigator. What I do typically is I'll generate an account list. I'll do some searches to generate, thousands of accounts. And then once the account list is created, I create a lead list that's filtered within those accounts. So I find the personas, the job titles, etc. within those companies. And then I use scrap.io to extract the emails from there. And then I can put that into a cold email sequence in SalesLoft and Outreach and Mailshake, and Lemlist is the one that I use most frequently. So LinkedIn Sales Navigator is supplementing your advertising campaign. It's basically your BDR arm or your SDR arm supplementing the more scalable, more quick acting advertising. So one of the challenges when you use LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you extract emails. You can only send so many emails per day. And yeah, it can be automated, it can be scalable, but it doesn't scale as broadly or as quickly as advertising does. Now, you can also use the lead generation objective for things like image ads. And in those image ads, what you're going to do is promote the offer. So the free trial, talk about the benefits of what they're going to get out of the free trial. And from Acting Now, you can do testimonial videos that are endorsing your product. So I would work with somebody that has influence among your target buyers. So that might be somebody you identify using SparkToro and then using their face, their credibility, their brand recognition to endorse your product. That will encourage them to trial your product. Another key thing here is to use intent data. So you can import the intent data into your advertising as a custom audience and promote your free offer that way, your demo, your trial, etc. So this is where you would start because you need to get the sales pipeline going. Now, if there is remaining budget and you have remaining time, you can progress to catering to people that are product unaware. They're not very familiar with your product. So different ways to do this would be with case studies. One thing I like to do is use case study videos. And what I do is I optimize the campaigns for reach or for the number of video views. So what I want is as many people as possible consuming the content. I want them actually engaging and remembering what the content of the case study was. I don't want to capture leads with case studies. I want to nurture leads with case studies. Okay, another thing you can do here is you could promote a buyer's guide. Now, a buyer's guide could be a gated asset. And the logic I have here is that if somebody is interested in a buyer's guide, they're showing some level of intent, a purchase intent, and you could hand that off to a sales team, maybe more realistically to like a BDR or an SDR, not necessarily an account executive, but there would be a good argument there to have that as gated. Similarly, you could have a gated webinar. With the idea that anybody that engages in a webinar that's focused on some level of buying intent or something deeper in the funnel, that's worth handing off to the sales team. But the webinar doesn't have to be gated. It could just be a video views campaign, and somebody does not even need to go to your website. But you could have campaigns that are just focused on getting people to your website, getting them more familiar, educated on your product, and a lot of that product-specific information will be on your website. Now, something else I want to point out is that when you're promoting your free offer, your demo, your consultation, etc., you probably want to use LinkedIn's lead capture form to do that. You don't want to send people to your website because that's going to take time to load. Instead, what I would do is have the lead capture form, integrate it with your CRM using Zapier or the built-in integrations that LinkedIn has if they work with the software that you have. Okay, so if you have saturated this product marketing, what I would do is I'd get into category marketing. So there are going to be people who don't necessarily need to be sold on your product at this point. They just need to be sold on the idea that your product category is going to solve the problem. So for example, I recently bought a webcam. Maybe I need to be convinced that a webcam is more practical and better than getting a full expensive Canon type camera, something like that. Or maybe people just need to be convinced that chatbot software is just as good or better than having a dedicated person to handle support requests, something like that. So some content to consider with doing this, and I'm not saying this is the only content, would be like a white paper. And in the white paper, you can kind of say like why chatbot software is the best solution to reducing your customer support costs and convincing them that the category itself, regardless of your product, is the answer. And other things would just be research. So research showing that, hey, the most successful companies in your industry use this category to solve the problem. Okay, so next we have problem unaware people. So kinds of content that you want to use here would be things like infographics, survey reports that basically say, hey, this is a problem. It's a serious problem. Maybe you don't realize it, but the most successful peers of yours have realized it. So if you want to be competitive, you better focus on this problem. And then conveniently, it's the problem that you solve, that your product solves and that your category solves. Okay, so lastly here, and this one is kind of almost separate from the rest, is people that are not familiar with your brand. Now, I'm not talking about your product again. I'm talking about your brand, which is like an emotional kind of memory thing related to your colors, your logo, your general category. The best way to promote brand awareness is video advertising. And you're going to optimize that for reach. You're going to set a frequency. Maybe the frequency is once per week for an entire year. You don't want the frequency to get super high. I know when people do Facebook advertising, often the frequency gets too high. One of the challenges with LinkedIn is that people don't use it as frequently. So one of the challenges is making sure that new people are watching your video rather than just the same people watching it over and over. Like you don't want people watching your video 4 times a day in most cases. So make sure you basically try to get a higher reach, I would say, with LinkedIn is one of the big challenges. So this is kind of the overall funnel that I use for planning a LinkedIn campaign. One thing that I want to say is that you can focus aggressively on getting your demos or your meetings, but what you can also do is just promote those subtly and not aggressively within your other content. So for example, at the bottom of case study, every bottom of the case study page could have a, hey, get a free trial. Similarly, in the buyer's guide, the webinar, there's going to be, a soft sales pitch for your free offer. The bottom of all of these content assets could have that. It's not how you're measuring success, because success is going to be measured by content consumption at the top, middle of the funnel, not action. But always give it as an option, because you don't know what stage somebody's at in the funnel, and it's kind of arrogant when you do make assumptions about what stage they're in. Okay, some other key things to consider lastly here is retargeting. So retargeting people that visit your website, retarget people based on the amount of a video that they've watched, retargeting people based on any number of criteria that are available to you. And the other key thing here with business to business marketing is you want to do multi-channel marketing. So LinkedIn is going to be probably your best tool from a targeting perspective, from getting the right people. But it's not necessarily the only way or the best way to get them to act or to get them to constantly be exposed to your brand, to your product. So a clear example there would be retargeting with Facebook. I'm still surprised that this day and age, business to business marketers are resistant to using Facebook for advertising. Excellent tool that covers both the retargeting and the multi-channel marketing. And in terms of getting people to act, I would say email or email type engagements. So things like live chat, things like inbox message ads, these types of things are going to get people to act because those are one-on-one conversations.